My name is Ethan Walker. I'm from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And when this happened, I was just 15 years old. A regular teenager, school, video games, a few friends. I never thought much about life after death. Honestly, I wasn't even sure if I believed in heaven until the night I died in my sleep. Yeah, you heard that right. I didn't crash a car. I didn't have a heart attack. I just went to bed like any normal night and woke up outside of my body. What happened next changed everything. The peace. I felt the light I saw and who I met. None of it felt like a dream. This is my story. And maybe it's your wake-up call too. Before we dive in, hit that like button and comment below. Do you believe heaven is real? Your answer might change by the end of this video. Who I was before, everything changed. I wasn't some spiritual kid. I didn't go to church every Sunday. My parents believed in God, but we weren't religious. Life was fine. I had decent grades, I loved basketball, and I was obsessed with sci-fi movies. If you asked me back then, what happens when we die? I would have probably said something like, I guess we just go somewhere? But I never gave it much thought. I used to lie awake sometimes, staring at the ceiling, wondering about all the big questions. What's the point of life? Why are we here? What happens after we die? But those were just late-night thoughts that faded by morning. I didn't expect answers. I didn't expect anything. I was just a 15-year-old trying to figure out who I was, like everyone else. Until one night, the night that changed everything. The night everything changed. It started like any other night. I brushed my teeth, scrolled through my phone for way too long, and finally passed out listening to music. Nothing unusual, until I felt something strange, like my body got heavier, but my mind got lighter. It was almost like I was sinking and floating at the same time. Then, silence. I mean, complete silence. No heartbeat, no thoughts. Just stillness. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but everything felt too real. The air had weight. The space around me had texture. I could feel myself, but I wasn't breathing. I wasn't even in my body. Then I saw it. I was standing at the edge of my bedroom, and there, on the bed, was me. Just lying there. Still. Pale. Eyes closed. I didn't scream. I didn't panic. I just watched. Like something inside me already knew what was happening. It wasn't fear. It was peace, but not the kind of peace you get when you're calm. It was deeper. Like I had been carrying a weight my whole life without realizing it. And now it was gone. My body was still, but I was alive, floating outside my body. Why am I seeing myself? I hovered there, staring at my own face, and the question hit me like lightning. Am I dead? It didn't make sense. I was fully conscious. I had thoughts, memories, emotions, but there was no heartbeat, no breath. My chest didn't rise. My skin looked colorless, like all the light had drained from it. I wanted to touch something, prove I still existed. I reached out toward the wall, and my hand went right through it. That's when I realized I wasn't in the world anymore, at least not the one I knew. But I wasn't alone. I felt it, a presence, not something visible, but something massive, gentle yet overwhelming, like I was being watched. Not in a creepy way, but in a way that made me feel completely known. Then, without warning, my surroundings began to shift. The walls of my room melted away like mist. The floor beneath me faded. Suddenly, I was weightless, surrounded by warmth and light. I wasn't floating anymore. I was being pulled, drawn towards something beautiful. I didn't resist. I couldn't. Every part of me wanted to go. My mind was full of questions, but my soul was finally at peace. Then I saw it. A tunnel, wide, glowing, alive, and I was being drawn right into it. The tunnel of light and the journey into the unknown. The tunnel wasn't just light, it was alive. It pulsed with color and sound, but not like anything on Earth. Imagine music that feels like warmth, colors that feel like love, a light that speaks straight into your soul. That's what it was like. I was being pulled through it faster than anything I'd ever experienced. But instead of fear, I felt completely safe, like I was in the hands of something far greater than myself. Time didn't exist there. Everything felt eternal, yet immediate. As I moved forward, memories flashed around me, moments from my life, even tiny things I'd forgotten. Laughing with my mom at age 5, a time I lied and felt guilty. The moment I helped a classmate who was being bullied. It was all there, rushing past me like a river of truth. And through it all, one feeling remained constant: love. Not the kind we talk about here. Not romantic, not conditional. It was pure, perfect, undeniable. It wrapped around me like a blanket. In a freezing storm, I felt wanted, I felt seen, and then I saw something in the distance. A golden glow, a realm, a place where the light didn't shine on things. It shone from them. I was approaching the edge of heaven. Pause here for a moment and tell me in the comments, have you ever felt a presence watching over you? Even if just for a second, like someone or something was protecting you. Your story might help someone else open their heart. The gates of heaven and the voice that knew my name. As I neared the end of the tunnel, the light didn't blind me. It welcomed me. It felt like walking into a place I had always belonged, even if I had never been there before. There were no clouds, no golden harps. What I saw was more beautiful than words can describe. The colors, the atmosphere, even the air felt alive with peace. There were structures that shimmered like crystal and fields that glowed with joy. But what stood out most wasn't what I saw. It was what I felt. Then, I heard it. A voice. Strong, yet gentle. Powerful, but full of kindness. It spoke not into my ears, but into the deepest part of who I was. Ethan, you're home. I froze. That voice knew me. Not just my name. It knew me. All my thoughts, my struggles, my fears, my dreams. And yet, it wasn't judging me. It was welcoming me, inviting me in. I turned towards the source, and what I saw stole my breath away. There stood a figure at the edge of what looked like a grand gate, made of light itself. I couldn't see every detail, but I could feel absolute purity radiating from him. He didn't have to say who he was. I knew. It was Jesus. And somehow, even before I got close, I felt like I had been hugged. Like every mistake, every insecurity had been gently washed away just by being near him. No anger, no shame, just love. The kind I didn't know I'd been missing. If you've ever doubted that Jesus knows your name, let this be your sign. He does. And he's closer than you think. Comment below. If you could ask Jesus one question, what would it be? We're reading every comment. The moment I met Jesus. Eyes that saw through my soul stepped closer, and as I did, the light around him became brighter. Yet it didn't hurt to look at. It felt like every part of me was being pulled into truth. My thoughts, my memories, my feelings. I couldn't hide anything, and I didn't want to. Then he looked at me. His eyes. They weren't just looking at me. They were looking through me, seeing every part of my story, even the pieces I had buried deep down. But here's the thing. Even as he saw it all, I didn't feel exposed. I felt safe. Imagine the deepest shame you've ever carried. Now imagine someone looking at it, fully, and not turning away, but drawing closer. That's what it felt like. Jesus didn't need to speak to explain things. When his eyes met mine, I instantly understood who he was. Not just the savior of the world, but the Savior of me. His presence was like standing in front of the sun, but instead of being burned, I was healed. He placed his hand near my shoulder, not touching, but close, and in that instant, I felt something leave me. It was like every fear, every doubt, every moment I thought I wasn't enough disappeared. I didn't want to leave. I would have stayed there forever. But Jesus had something to show me first. Something I wasn't ready for, but something I needed to see. Take a second and comment below. Have you ever felt seen by God in a way you couldn't explain? Your words could speak straight to someone else's soul. What was revealed to me about heaven Jesus didn't speak with his mouth, but his presence spoke volumes. As I stood beside him, a kind of vision opened up before me, like the fabric of heaven was unfolding just for me to see. What I witnessed wasn't just a place. It was a reality more real than anything on earth. There were people, millions, radiant, whole, overflowing with peace. They weren't floating on clouds. They were alive, more alive than we've ever been here, laughing, embracing, creating, worshiping. I could feel their joy from across the distance. Not one of them was sick. Not one of them was anxious. Not one of them felt alone. I saw colors I can't describe, hues that don't exist here. I heard melodies that filled my chest with meaning. The air carried love, as if every breath was a message from God saying, "You are my child. You are home." I also saw a garden, lush, radiant. In the center was a tree that seemed to glow with golden light. Jesus looked at me, and though he didn't speak, I understood. This is where you came from. This is where you're meant to return. Heaven was not boring. It wasn't empty or cold. It was purpose, wrapped in presence. It was home. And then, he showed me something even more powerful. I saw people arriving, others who had just crossed over from Earth. Some were met with overwhelming celebration. Others paused, hesitant, unsure. Not because heaven didn't want them, but because they had never truly opened their hearts while they were alive. Jesus turned to me, and I felt a question rise inside me, not from him, but from within my own soul. Will you help them? Will you tell them it's real? My heart answered. Before I could think, yes, I will. If you've ever wondered what heaven is really like, let this be your reminder. It's not a myth. It's not a fantasy. It's home, and it's waiting for us. Comment below. What do you imagine heaven looks like? Your vision might be more real than you think. Why I couldn't stay. And the mission he gave me just when I thought I would stay there forever, walking in that perfect peace. Something shifted. The light around me began to pull back slightly, not in rejection, but like a gentle hand guiding me somewhere else. I looked at Jesus, and I knew I couldn't stay. My heart sank. Tears began to well up, not from fear, but from this deep longing to never leave that place of perfect love again. But Jesus looked at me with the kind of compassion that holds the weight of eternity. In that gaze, he spoke, not with words, but with truth. You have more to do. There are people who need to hear what you've seen. You must return and tell them. At first I resisted. I felt like a child being asked to leave home all over again. But then, he showed me something. Faces, hundreds, thousands, millions. People wandering in darkness, searching for something real. Young people just like me, confused, lost, afraid of dying, afraid of living. Mothers, fathers, atheists, believers. People praying with broken hearts, wondering if anyone heard them. And then I saw it. My voice, speaking into the chaos. Not with my own strength, but with his light flowing through me. I understood. Your life has meaning beyond what you see. Your pain, your story, your words. They are part of my plan. He placed his hand near my chest, and in that moment, I felt something like a seal being pressed into my soul. a mission, a purpose, a message. Then everything began to fade, the sounds, the colors, the warmth. I looked at him one last time and whispered inside, "I'll go, but I'll never forget this." Have you ever felt like your life has a purpose greater than yourself? Maybe this is your confirmation. Drop a comment. What do you believe your mission on Earth is? Waking up in tears and a new heart. I don't remember the exact moment I returned to my body. There was no dramatic jolt, no flashing lights, just a sudden gasp. My eyes flew open. I was in my bed, in the dark, with my blanket tangled around, me and sweat soaking my shirt. Everything was silent, except my heart, pounding like it had been restarted with a bolt of lightning. And then, the tears came. Not from fear, not from sadness, from love. I sat up and cried harder than I've ever cried in my life. Not because I'd lost something, but because I'd seen something so pure, so beautiful, so real. And I had to carry it now. But I was different. I knew it. I could feel it. Something in me had changed. It was like a fire had been lit inside my chest. Not a fire of destruction, but of awakening. My priorities shifted instantly. Things that used to seem important, status, popularity, what people thought of me, suddenly felt small. And people, I saw them differently now. Every person. I passed in the hallway at school. Every stranger on the street, every angry face on the news, I saw them the way he sees them, as souls, as children, as people worth dying for. That first day back, I couldn't stop telling people what I saw. Some laughed, some cried, some stared at me like I was crazy. But I didn't care, because I had stood in heaven. I had looked into the eyes of Jesus, and I had come back with a mission. Has your heart ever been broken open by something divine? Something you couldn't explain, but knew was real? Comment below. If you had one message to give the world after seeing heaven, what would... Heaven is real. And he's calling you too. If there's one thing I can tell you, one truth I would give my life for, it's this. Heaven is real. Not a metaphor, not a dream, not a story to make us feel better about death. It's realer than this world. More. Alive than anything you've ever touched, and more beautiful than your mind could ever imagine. And Jesus, he's not a myth. He's not a symbol. He's not distant. He's here, now, watching, calling. I wasn't a perfect person. I didn't do anything to earn that moment in heaven. I wasn't super holy or wise or special, but he chose to reveal it to me anyway, and maybe he's using this video to reveal it to you. You don't have to die in your sleep to wake up to the truth. You don't have to wait for a tunnel of light to start walking toward him. He's already reaching for you, right here, right now, through your questions, through your pain, through the ache in your soul that keeps asking, is there more? Yes, there is more. There's life beyond death. There's love that doesn't give up. There's a God who knows your name, and he's calling you home. If this story touched your heart, even a little, I want to ask you to do two things. Share this video. Someone you know needs to hear it. Subscribe and turn on notifications. We're telling more real stories of people who've seen the other side and came back changed, because the harvest is coming. The time is running out, and heaven is closer than you think. He's calling you. Don't wait.